Hi and welcome along to the F1 Pit Stop. We are back again with another F1 show. We got Matt in the building.
Come on.
How you doing, bro? You know what I mean? It's good to see you again, man.
It's good to see you. Listen, and your fans, best fans out there, by the way, they are so right. Don Robbie doing Formula One is a thing that's got to keep happening.
It's keeping happening, man. It's keeping happening. I love my Formula One.
Mate, and I love that you love your Formula One. I love my Formula One. I love my whiskey. And there's another, listen, you don't have to keep having us.
Hey, you see, this
We're
is
going again. Did you other guess? I've noticed since we've been on, you've started, a few gifts have been coming your way. Are we starting a trend here?
Maybe you're starting a good trend.
Good.
I don't know. Maybe it's not a good trend.
What did you make of the Willet last time? American style?
That was unbelievable. What's this one now?
We're going Japan. So Nika, by the way, we're not sponsored, but maybe one day. Nika, amazing Japanese whiskey. In a nutshell, Scotland do the traditional stuff, yeah, and everyone goes, oh, the heritage is amazing. Yeah. America do the cool sort of sweet bourbony shit. The Japanese do a combo of that plus science, I guess, because they're Japanese. Okay. And this one, the coffee thing, it doesn't taste like coffee. They put coffee beans in the barrel while they're, I don't know, doing the sciencey bits with it. It's amazing, man. So we should do a cheers. This is a nice tradition to do, eh?
That's another good one. It's so smooth. Again.
It's another smooth one.
Yeah. We have to do a whiskey show.
We do. I mean, it's the Whiskey Formula One podcast. Yeah,
I'll tell you what, the other day we did a watch-along for the Real Madrid game.
Oh, yeah, right.
And that guy, he brought in this, is it Ouzo? It was like this Greek
high
drink.
percent, like, yeah.
That stuff is strong. But I tell you what, it's all right, though.
You weren't wanting it, though? Not down in one?
No, man. No. But anyway, listen, since we did the first show, there's been a couple of
we got going
races. We had the first race, of course, that took place in Bahrain. Yeah. Lewis Hamilton winning it. Against all the odds in that race, wasn't it?
It really was. And you know something, for the non-F1 fans to go, oh, what's the point in tuning in? Why? We're just talking about Lewis Hamilton. This season is banging different than it has done for years. Max Verstappen is on something at the moment. Red Bull look really, really strong. Partnered up with Sergio Perez, who had some unfortunate bits happening in that race, but came from near the back all the way back up to 5th place again. Honestly, this could be Red Bull's year. This is your neighbours. This is something going on here.
Yeah, but Lewis Hamilton did win that race, though.
Yeah, he did. Listen, it just showed pure class. And I think that is everybody's sort of takeaway from there is if you get to that stage where you start doubting Lewis Hamilton, you think, nah, it's just the car, it's just the car. He just proves in races like that, it ain't the car. He was 40 seconds ahead of Bottas in 3rd place in the end, in the same car. Like, he just drives like something else.
Also in that race, though, it was like their tactics, wasn't it? Mercedes, tactically, they got it right as well, which is such a... I mean, explain to us how big a part of racing that is, the tactics of the pit guys.
It's, great question. Formula One really, I think, I would even make a statement to say more than any other sport, tactics makes a huge difference. Like it is the difference between winning a race and losing a race. I don't know if that's fair to say in football even. I know that tactics and strategy plays a part of it. I know that managers take a lot of rap when they start losing. But at the end of the day, if the footballers just go out and play the game, it's going to happen a little, you know? In Formula One, strategy down to pit stops, down to a slow stop, down to the wrong tyre strategy, down to, you name it, all the different variables that they can choose to do makes a whole heap of a difference. Mercedes typically, and why they've been so dominant for so long, is they're just better than everybody else at the strategy. That's what it comes down to. But then we saw that again with this weekend's race. You know,
this weekend's race at Imola. Max Verstappen winning this race. And again, tactically, they got it right, didn't they?
They got it absolutely right. I was talking to your guy, Jason, actually, before the race, and he was saying, oh, come on, like, with the Red Bull and thing going on, what happened with Mercedes and why did they not look like normal Mercedes? There was something up from the beginning there. And you know something, I loved actually one of the comments we got, one of your guys said something like, that massive weirdo, hating Bottas is not a personality trait. Well, let me just say, it absolutely is. And the guy's shit. How he's got that Mercedes seat, I don't know, Robbie, I really don't. And you actually said, well, if I drove the Mercedes, maybe I'd win. And I came back and said, no, you wouldn't. I think you'd do better than Bottas, Robbie, I really do. He qualified in 8th position in that Mercedes for no reason. Like, you hear like, oh, well, they were carrying some floor damage, there was problem with some of the downforce going on there, and that's the reason why he was down in 8th. There was no reason for Bottas to be down in 8th yesterday. He then gets overtaken twice and he's sat down in 10th place for the majority of that race. There's something different going on with Mercedes here, whereas Red Bull now look like they've got the shit together and things are going pretty well for them.
They did, however, that was a similar case last season, isn't it? The Red Bull started off really, really well, and then Mercedes got their act together and then they just ran away with it, didn't they?
Yeah.
So, we have seen this before, but with Bottas, he crashed out of that race as well. He had a big crash with my boy Russell.
Yes, he did. Now, you know something...
And it nearly come to blows as well. Maybe not blows, but...
But it was
nice
had
a big
to
argument,
see.
Didn't they?
Yeah, and fire in the bellies from both of them. I think, you know what, Bottas, a lot of the criticism about him is he's just a bit too friendly and a bit too happy being second, a bit too happy being third. And he's trying now to show that he's got a bit more aggression about him. Well, to crash out of the race and then flip Russell off as he comes to offer him a helping hand, I think, all right, we're starting to see something from the guy.
Mind you...
We were looking at the clips, though. Where do you stand with it? A lot of people want to know, like, OK, really and truly, Russell's blaming Bottas and saying he moved over and didn't give me the room. Bottas is blaming Russell and saying, well, he's the one who hit me. You know, he shouldn't have moved there. It was too tight.
What
did you think of that?
I thought it was Russell's fault.
Yeah.
I thought Russell hits him. And if I was Bottas, I would have done the same. You know what I mean? You've hit me, you've run me off the track, smashed me up out of the car. I'm out of the race, and then you're coming over to say, oh, you all right? Oh, do one. You know what I mean?
And actually, of the two of them, who's got more to lose, Like, Bottas is in the Mercedes and should be challenging for a championship, and he's out of the race. Russell, lucky to be in the top 10, and was probably thinking, oh, look at me go. I do agree with you, actually. And when I watched it back, everything in me, I do want to just say, Bottas is wank and it was all his fault. But bless him, you can see from Russell's point of view, he didn't score a single point last year. To score a point in Formula One, you need to finish in the top 10 out of 20, yeah? So for context, George Russell has not ever finished in the top 10, or certainly not last year anyway. He's now running in 10th place. He sees Bottas in 9th and thinks, I could do the Mercedes here. I can start really making a name for myself. But his inexperience is what lets him down. And on a wet track at Imola, it's got grass either side, which is one of the reasons why it's so dangerous. You look at a modern Formula One track now, like what we see in Bahrain and in the Middle East and even in America, there's no grass anywhere. You know from football, that shit's slippery. George Russell, probably a centimetre of his right front tyre nipped onto the grass, and that was enough at 190 miles an hour to cause the car to just slip straight into Bottas. Wow. You saw the damage and the chaos that it created. I think he's saying, well, I had to dip on the grass because Bottas was sort of coming over and covering me. Bottas is saying, well, I'm on the racing line. It's a racing incident, so nobody's being penalised for it. But from my point of view, I'm happy to see it. I don't mind seeing the crashes, providing everybody's okay. I'd rather that than not see people go for overtakes and people say, I'm not going to risk it. I'm really happy with 10th. You want to see racing drivers pushing.
True. Let me just before I wanted to ask you like your top 3 moments of the weekend, but just before we got to that, right? In motor racing, I know a lot of people may not know this, when it's raining, I always find it unbelievable. I mean, I'll be driving down the motorway, you're driving behind a truck. Yeah. The spray off of those things, you're doing like 40, 50 miles an hour, you're like, bro, I can
and you got your wipers going like a madman,
Now, in F1, they're right behind the next car, driving at these crazy speeds. You said 190 miles an hour. Yeah. Now tell us about, they've got these little strips, haven't they, that they rip off of their visors. Yeah. Because I always look at it and say, well, they've got no windscreen wipers. So what do they do when, like, their visors, when all the water's splashing up on it? How do they do that?
Nothing.
Explain it.
So the strips are actually more to do with the sun protection. In that case, it's almost like, you drive and you put on your pair of sunglasses. They obviously can't do anything like that. So they have different shades in there, and they might have 5, 6 layers. So as things are getting less bright, or the eyes adjust or whatever, they're going to rip some away, get rid of those, rip some away, get rid of those. They do then have like a chemical on them that causes water to run away from them. So I guess they might change a little bit for water. But you're absolutely right. How they see anything, the camera can't see. You'll actually see when it's really wet, 3 cars coming in, you can't tell who it is, you can barely see the cars on the camera. How the guys are doing that in there, again, just shows that elite level that these boys are playing at week in, week out.
And one slight mistake, bro, and you get what we saw yesterday with Bottas on it.
A centimetre, bro, as well. We are not talking like anything major. He's not gone like this onto the grass and lost it. His steering wheel has barely moved. He's just ever so slightly nipped it, and you and I, it would scare the shit out of us, I'm sure it would. What's amazing, actually, as a little big word coming in, juxtaposition, is Max Verstappen did the exact same thing at the start of the race when it was even wetter. Starting in third place, Lewis is in first place, and we've got Sergio Perez over on this side. And what we see is, have you seen that Will Ferrell film, The Talladega Nights?
No, I haven't seen that one.
Oh, you guys, a lot of you will have seen it, right? So go with me on this, yeah? They talk about shake and bake.
A little bit of shake and then...
And it's this idea in motorsport, yeah, that you're going to use your teammate as a way of, if you can get either side of a car, the car ahead, in this case Lewis, he can't defend from both. So they call it shake and bake. They do a little gesture in there, right? So Red Bull perform exactly that at the start. Perez is putting Hamilton under pressure on the right. Verstappen ain't going to play second fiddle and starts bombing it up the left. The inches that he had between himself and the grass, inches is the wrong word, millimeters. If he'd have just gone 1 mil or 2 mil to the left, we would have seen exactly what happened to Bottas and George Russell earlier, happened at the start of the race. We would have had Max out, Lewis out, and because of where Perez was, all 3 of them out. That is what Max Verstappen has matured into as a driver. The difference between a young Verstappen and a young, more rookie-looking George Russell is there's no way he's sticking it on the grass. He's holding it out, and by the finest of margins, takes the lead on the third corner of the race and pisses it and wins it by 21 seconds.
Yeah,
so,
crazy.
Mad respect for Max Verstappen.
Let me get your top 3 moments of the weekend.
Come on. Yeah, for me in first, I just have to say, rather than the moment, the guy, Max Verstappen, everything that he's becoming as a Formula One driver is everything you need to not just be a race winner or a contender, but to be a world champion, right? We have not seen somebody challenge Lewis Hamilton for the seat of world champion, not really. Since Nico Rosberg in 2016, which now we're talking 5 years ago, and before that, Lewis won another couple, and then it was Vettel at Red Bull. So it's clear that it ain't just about, okay, I've got a quick car and I'm going to win the championship. You've got to have something more. Max has done that. He didn't only take his chance at the beginning. The lead that he ended up building, as I just was saying there, he finished 21 seconds ahead of Lewis Hamilton. Lewis barely wins races with a 10 or a 15 second gap. 21 seconds is huge in this kind of sport. So for me, I think that is an absolute sort of highlight of the weekend. I think second up, Lando Norris, man. A young British driver. People are quick to write him off. Ryan couldn't be here today. He does not like Lando Norris. He can't get behind the guy. He feels like, you know, he's big on Twitch and all these gaming things. And he's like, he's not an athlete. He's just I think he called him a nerdy little dork, actually. But there's something about him again. He's taken that McLaren. It's not a Mercedes. It's not a Red Bull. And he held out second place right the way to the end where Hamilton ended up getting in. And it was, you know, crazy from Lewis to be able to get through. Lando Norris, again, is one to watch. If that McLaren is going to become a more equal car with the rule changes coming next year, we could honestly see McLaren being back on top and being super dangerous. So that's in there for me. A third highlight, if you'd have said 20 highlights, then I could have just kept going. But a third highlight we've got to think about. I think Lewis and everything that went on with him, people are groaning now and saying, oh, stop talking about the same people. But Lewis Hamilton
came off the track, didn't he?
Came straight off the track, and anybody else's race is over at that point. He's actually, when a car beaches, it's because it goes into this gravel, which is designed to stop a Formula One car at 190 miles an hour, right? So he's overshot the gravel, and he's then put it into the barrier and taken damage to his nose. And he's kept really cool, calm and collected, stuck it in reverse, kept the engine running, because these things stall generally when they come to a quick stop. He's managed to do all of that, get it back on track, and then something happened with him. Can I give you another movie reference? But have you seen the film Dodgeball? Adam?
Yep, I've seen that one.
All right, cool. Patrick O'Houlihan in there. Dodge, duck, dip, dive, and dodge, yeah? He says to him, while he's throwing spanners at him, trying to get him to move out of the way, he says, you got to get mean, you got to get angry. Lewis Hamilton was fucking fuming. They had to red flag the race. It was only a lap after the Lewis crash that Bottas and everything happens. The track's covered in debris. They stop the race. They bring everybody in. Lewis climbs out of his car, takes his helmet off. I have never seen the man like this. Bright red sort of face, looked furious, almost a red mist over his eyes. And while some people are laughing and joking, some went off to their room and stuff. He put his headphones in. You could see he was just getting in the zone. and I want to know what his playlist is, and I want to subscribe. Because the man got back in the car, he got mean, he got angry, and he just went after him. He was in second when he crashed. By the end of the race, he's back in second place, and nowhere near Max Verstappen, but rescued a tragic day.
Plus, as well, he done that fastest lap.
Yeah, exactly.
So that means he got the extra point, which means he's still at the top of the leaderboard.
Exactly right. With how many points? 44, the same number that's on his car. You know, like it was meant to be.
That's Lewis Hamilton for you.
That is classic.
Who's going to win the next race?
Big questions. So we're in Portugal. Before I give you my prediction, I need to give you the context of last year. Lewis Hamilton scored a hat-trick. A hat-trick in Formula One means, a lot of people don't know this one, he got pole position, he won the race, and he got the fastest lap. If I then tell you that Valtteri Bottas came in second, qualified in second, Mercedes dominated this as a 1-2. This is a track designed for the Mercedes to be dominant. So before this weekend, I would have been telling you, Mercedes are going to get back to it. Lewis is just going to once again show his dominance. Bottas is going to come right in behind because it's a track meant for them. But there's something going on in Formula One this year. There's something going on with Red Bull this year. Max looks hungry. Unfortunately, Perez had a stinker this weekend. If it wasn't for that, I'd maybe be backing both the Red Bulls. I'm going to go out on a limb here and say, I'm going to say Max actually to come and win the race. I feel that Lewis is going to come in second, but I actually think that we're going to see a McLaren again coming into the podium and doing bits there. So what I'm effectively saying is Bottas isn't going to cut it even with the car. Perez is still going to be finding his feet and doing bits there. But what do you feel? What are you thinking?
I'm going Hamilton.
Yeah?
Hamilton. Hamilton for Portugal.
Yeah.
And then it's Spain after that, isn't it?
Yeah, Barcelona.
I'll go Hamilton again in that as well. He always does well at Barcelona.
He does. He
Right,
does.
so-
But Max won it as a rookie a few years ago when he just got promoted in, and Max knows that track really well.
Max is going to push him all the way this year, definitely.
He really
and
is.
Perez is a good addition to that.
He is.
To that Red Bull team.
What a stinker though
it's
that he's
going to be
had.
really interesting. But Bottas has got up his game as well, hasn't he? Because I think the fact that Perez is coming in,
Yeah.
you know,
Totally.
as a number 2 in the other team, but is Hamilton no, keep Bottas because he always makes me look good.
Honestly, I think so. We talked about it in the last show that Hamilton was actually in his contract negotiations as a clause saying, you ain't bringing in Verstappen. And by the way, I'm actually going to help decide who it is. In other words, you can't just hire whoever you want. I want to know that. I think this is that shake and bake thing as well, you know. And unfortunately, what's going to go against Hamilton by not having a great driver is, I told you that the shake and bake is about two of you being up there and being able to be indefensible on either side, right? Well, in order to do that, the number 2 driver needs to fucking turn up. He needs to be there. It's no good Bottas being in 8th place for Lewis. As much as he's not a competition against Lewis, he also can't help Lewis in any way. There's 7 cars between them. So Red Bull have got a bit of magic here that if Perez can keep up with Max this season, that's the strength that people need to fear with this Red Bull team if you are a Lewis Hamilton or a Mercedes fan. It's not just about Max being hot. It's that as a unit now, they're moving forward. So, yeah, not good enough.
So you're saying Verstappen, I'm saying Hamilton. And any outside team that, you know, you've been surprised at how well they've done so far? Oh, I guess you said McLaren, isn't it?
Yeah, listen, McLaren did end up locking in 3rd place last year in the Constructors' Championship. This has been them who only a few years ago were 9th out of 10 teams, coming all the way through. They look great, their lineup looks great. I do think we need to be patient with Daniel Ricciardo. I think he'll come good, but we've not seen that yet with him. But Lando is dragging that team forward and you know, into the points and onto the podium. In terms of the midfield, and it's important that we talk about the midfield, you know, Formula One, it's easier to just talk about Lewis and Max and be done with it. I think with the rest of the midfield, I've been disappointed by Alpine and what they've been doing, but AlphaTauri are a team that I think are going to come really strong this year. Gasly has put it on 5th place in qualifying both weeks, but then ended up fucking up a little in the race and falling back. I think when Tsunoda really works out, you know, from being a rookie and getting used to this car, I think AlphaTauri are going to be pretty strong this year. But we're going to have to, at some point, get onto some of the villains and talk about your team that you picked out. Haas are absolutely tanking it, Robbie, this year.
No, crap, man. Put them out there.
You know what's funny? I was telling you last time, and I was saying you don't want Haas. There's this guy, Marzipan. He's absolutely wank. We've started calling him Marzi-Span. The guy has span out of every race he's been in and DNF'd. Why is he in Formula One? Why? In a sport like this, and it is money, you're right, but we don't see this with football.
Well, I don't know.
Maybe money plays a part, but you don't see
after this weekend, mate. Money. No, we do see this in football. Trust me.
But not to the point where you go, okay, I don't know. Let's say David Luiz is he's from a rich family. He's going to start putting money, and he's going to essentially start paying Arsenal in order to play. Okay, we'll start you. If he's shit, he doesn't play.
Wait a minute. No, you do see it because now you see a shit team like Arsenal, and I hate to say that because my club being guaranteed a place in the highest competition, which is going to be this new European Super League. So actually, we are going full Formula One as well in football as well. Money talks in every single sport. Money officially talks. Last thing before we go.
Come on.
Are the guys from Mercedes, and also I note the guys from, oh gosh, I've forgotten what's the new team? Aston Martin.
Yeah.
Are they right where they're moaning about rule changes being made deliberately to keep them from winning?
Personally, I think no. The only time that we have seen a rule change happen mid-season, and for anybody who's not followed along with this one, essentially what's happened now is these two teams together, it's Aston Martin and Mercedes. They've built their car in a certain way which favours a certain kind of downforce. So it's to do with the floor and the base of the car. We're not going to get too geeky on it. What they're saying is, hang on a minute, you've started to design all these tracks and you're starting to really favour everybody else, and it's not fair to us. The only time we've seen the FIA make a rule change in the middle of a season has been directly to do with safety. The last time they did that was the death of Ayrton Senna in '94 at Imola, ironically. After he died, they're like, things have to change. So they changed the aerodynamics on the car. I think they punched some holes in it for that year just to make it less quick on corners, essentially, because they can't have fatalities. What Mercedes and Aston Martin are talking about is not fatalities. They're talking about protecting investments and staying at the top of the grid. That's my take on it. I think this sort of scourge that we're getting in Formula One, and as you say, is coming into other sports, that money is everything. It's not something I like about it. I think, no, motorsport doesn't need to be all about money. It's expensive, but that shouldn't push teams to have to sell the soul like we've seen Haas do. A team that have been looking really great, but because of their choices of sponsors and where they've gone, we're now just seeing a Marzipan who cannot drive that car. He's showing that in practices, in the races, he's spinning out, he cannot control it, yeah? I can't sit in a Formula One car and drive it. I'm not as good as Lewis Hamilton. So if I say, all right, here's $300 million, can I now sit in your team? That shouldn't give me the right to do it. In the same way, I'm not fit enough and good enough to play football. So I can't buy my way into my beloved Southampton team as much as I would like to do. My place is in the stand, not on the pitch, you know? So that's kind of my take with it. I think it's a little bit of sort of sore losery thing going on. Toto Wolff owns 5% of Aston Martin, not the Formula One team, but the entire company. So he's vested interest in there. He also is a 30% owner of the Mercedes team. He's clearly not happy with something, and he wants to usher in this era of dominance, and he's seeing Christian Horner and the Red Bulls come through and challenge him. I think it's a little bit of whining, personally.
Okay, a little bit of whining. Well, listen, Matt, as we say, whining, but not whining, whiskeying.
Come on.
Right, thank you very much.
No, thank you for having us.
Always a pleasure to have you on. We have you back on in a few weeks' time.
Come on.
To catch up again on the Formula One. Don't forget to tell them where they can catch you.
We're on Off Circuit, at Off Circuit F1. And thanks so much, by the way, since the last video. Guys, hundreds of people came over. They've been commenting. You really have the best fans. They're amazing.
You sure?
Yeah,
no, they are the best fans.
Sure.
They are the best fans.
Even actually the guy who, he made a comment, it was nice of Robbie to invite Obi-Wan and comic book guy onto the show. And I thought, that is in equal parts hurtful but accurate, so we'll take it.
Well, go and check out their channel. Make sure you subscribe. Their guys are on it every week with the Formula One. And thanks for watching the show. Don't forget to subscribe here to the Don Robbie channel. We'll be back in a couple of weeks updating you on the F1. I might even get another bottle of whiskey. Getting good here.
Let's go.